All right, YouTube, we are here. Let's give us a minute to get started. Let's see.
God damn. Oh, yeah.
See if this is running here. Okay. Okay, cool. It is running. It's in another window, which is going to mess me up, but hopefully it's not too bad. That's how I ran into trouble last time, because I had to switch to machine, which I don't usually do. Marie is on the boards right now, so we should see her shortly.
Momentarily.
The art one that you put up
is good for you.
I'm embarrassed by it, but I recently started taking up practicing long swords. It's actually quite good exercise, turns out.
I missed that. You're doing what now?
I said that it's rather embarrassing, but I recently started sword forms as exercise,
cool.
and it's surprisingly good.
Yeah, that's serious business, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, what you're literally doing is practicing killing people, so that requires a lot of body movement.
Yeah. Well, I'm not doing anything super. Although I have discovered that strong legs is actually a significantly bigger advantage in swording.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean,
well, because you can move forward. You can move forward in and add that that weight into. We have another individual.
Yay.
Hello.
Hello, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
We are live.
Oh, hi. Is anyone watching us? I wouldn't think so, since we didn't really announce this one.
Not yet.
Okay, that's probably good.
Put out. I did put out some luncheon.
Oh, okay. So someone might show up. Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. Invite to Karita. I haven't seen much of her though, so.
Yeah.
So the quality of my connection is quite poor. I'm very sad to say. I need to get my. Say again.
Well, yeah, you have some computer issues, right?
I'm still having problems with the charger for my Surface tablet.
Right.
Which has wireless adapter in it. However, the charger never seems to want to work. So I have to once again. I'm probably going to actually break down and buy the Microsoft one this time because I can't buy one every feasible. So, but I did want to talk a little bit about episode because, as I'm sure you realized, as you were going through and trying to transport it, there are some pretty big gaps in it.
Which is why I left them there, so with question marks.
Yeah, no, and that's good. Just be like, yep, that's it. So why do that real quick? Consider that a higher priority than the other things at the moment.
That's fine. I can't remember anything I wanted to talk about anyway.
What's that?
Way too early. I can't think of anything I wanted to talk about anyway. It's too early.
I can think of some things.
Yeah, I had no doubt.
Changes that the hosts have asked for that we can make. They're not big change. I don't know how much of it we need to really
Do.
This is probably the bigger issue. Okay. So, an hour of episode 13. The trees have Orome, Elmway, and we're chasing down our villains. Tokus was sent back time to deliver his, yay or nay, no low. Okay. Okay. So the first part ends with essentially asking Feanor for the Silmarils.
Yeah. Before we get into all that, with Tulkas, when does he arrive back with the others? Like, obviously he's there to deliver his line, but he gets sent back pretty early in the first hour. So when do we want to have him actually return? I wasn't really clear on that, so it's not in here in the summary I wrote. You'll notice there's no like Tulkas arrives and
I would say that he was asked. So I would say that he asked. He's got to. While Yavanna is still trying to save the trees.
Okay, so he should arrive before the end of the first hour.
Yes.
Okay, that's reasonable. I just.
I mean, he's for to be present when the request is made, so he knows what's going on, because we all know that. So him walking into the situation after the fact and
it doesn't help.
Going on.
Okay. Yeah. So he should show up somewhere in either Act 3 or earlier in Act 4 of the first hour.
Yes.
Okay.
He's the fastest thing on two legs, right?
Yeah, I would say that maybe having after Feanor's futile attempts to fix the trees.
It's about when he
that feel because he probably doesn't know that Feanor has actually been doing just about everything in his power to save them.
Oops.
So, all right.
I don't know. I kind of like him watching all that and still being a douche.
Okay. All right. What? So you're saying to have him seeing that?
Yeah, it just kind of adds to the boneheadedness.
Insensitive. It's not. It's not. That's not what's described. What's described is he counsel. So he's not. He's not thoughtful.
Yeah. So he just.
You know.
What this comes down to is we have a few scenes at the trees that are going on, and one of those scenes should be interrupted by Tulkas running in and delivering his message.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to figure out which of those to use. So we have most of Act 3 is at the trees. So all of Act 3 is at the trees, actually, of the first hour. For Act 4, most of it is not at the trees. Then we return to the trees for the end of it. So if we're going to come back in Act 3, it can be anywhere because the whole thing is at the trees. Right, so what time Tulkas interrupts is not necessarily super important, but we probably don't want to end the act with him coming in.
No.
Which is the Feanor stuff is at the end of Act 3. So if he's going to interrupt something, it should be earlier. So he could come in while Yavanna is singing or something. Would that make sense?
Or just after.
Okay, so when Yavanna does her thing, then Tulkas shows up, and then Feanor does his thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think he should interrupt Yavanna singing as well.
No, okay. Fair. What's happening between those two things right now is Fingolfin accusing Manwë of letting this happen. So that's about when Tulkas runs in?
Yeah, that seems like an appropriate low point for him to come in and ruin everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, or poor, unwitting.
Oh, okay. I got you. I figured out the answer to my question by reading things. Okay. Through the magical power of reading. Okay. So all right. So that's fine. We established that. So Act 1 starts with the confrontation of the trees. Manwë asks Feanor for his answer. Tulkas Ally asks for time. This is a momentous decision. Feanor is surrounded by Valar who want his darkness comes to Formanos. Finwë does the okay. So we're gonna figure out what can happen there. We go back to Feanor at
we'll go back to Feanor too. So
right. Yeah.
Whatever else we fill in with Act 1, it's not Feanor unless there's one thing we can do with this, and that is that upon further review, they seemed less intent on having Feanor's decision be towards the end climactic part of the episode. So we can move Feanor up.
That's true. That's true. Because
we can restructure this, but we then have to
figure out how to make critical
second half.
Yeah. It part of the problem miscommunication on what the word climax was.
Right.
When I asked what by the climax, I meant the point where rising action will be the climax.
Yeah.
And
he meant Act 3 of a 5-act.
Most important, the most important.
Right. So knowing that, moving Feanor's decision up as possible, and since we are kind of artificially dragging this out, I would be okay with at least considering restructuring it so having Yavanna raise the question at the end of one episode and have it reintroduced at the beginning of part 2 is good. Like I like that timing. But as far as how long it
Yeah.
takes Fëanor to say, no, you can't have the Silmarils, we can condense that a little bit. So it's all by the halfway point of the second hour, like by the end of Act 2 of the second hour. Fëanor could have done all his stuff. It
Okay.
causes other problems, though, which is why we need to talk about it and not just assume it's going to happen like that.
Yeah. Here's the problem. We can't necessarily move on the outline up to 18 because we were just there.
Right. We need something to go in between. But
yeah, I mean, I could see it going to 19, but that's not really still a separate act. The way that it feels like a separate act, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's still an Act 2. It's still an Act 1 problem.
Yeah. Basically, Act 1 has 2 events in it, 2 main scenes. Act 2 has 3 scenes. Act 3 has 3 scenes. And Act 4 actually has scenes.
What we could do is we could do more establishment elsewhere. So we put another scene with company into Act 1. I think that would kind of solve our issue.
Another scene
because we don't establish them, because we establish what they're doing throughout.
Who are you talking
about? Omo Ase Unin.
Okay, those people.
Until Act 3 here. So if we reestablish what they're.
Yeah, I see. So we had 2 separate scenes with Olmo in the first hour. When he talks to Asa and Uinen, and he also interacts with the Teleri a little bit.
Yeah.
So we have that already happens twice.
Yeah. Could he travel to the south and?
He could check in with Uinen. And that's when we could bring up the idea about Ungoliant had a lair in the south that he knew about, and what his concerns are or whatever. So yeah, we could add that in.
So we could do that.
Okay.
Ask him what happens if they get away.
Ask who?
Like what he's going to do. He ask Uinen? Could she ask him? Sorry, can Uinen ask Olmo what he's going to do if it flips through their grasp?
Yes, she could definitely ask that question, and he could. Yeah, and he can say something along the lines of he would never stop fighting, or just because like Melkor's not going to get away with this no matter what.
I mean, they can't leave the mortal coil, right? So
they're going to kill Melkor at the end of the first stage. No, they're not. They're going to banish him by sticking him in the void at the end of the first stage.
Right, but that's a very specific thing that they have like all of the power over, right? Because they control the gates.
The second prophecy of Mandos, which is obviously no longer canonical by the time you get to the published Silmarillion, but still has some interesting food for thought in it, does include the actual killing of Melkor.
Right.
But and dead by then.
Right. But that's like Judgment Day stuff.
That's very the world ends and everything is renewed and
so I mean the point being that they're stuck there. So yeah, like there's nowhere they can go where the Valar can't find them, really.
Yeah. So I think Olmo could commit to his long-term enmity against Melkor at this point. Yeah. We've seen him setting up to almost be a bad guy in his own right. So this the way that end the season with Olmo is
something.
the champion of the good guys from here on out.
How long do we want to carry that, by the way?
What, Ulmo could be a bad guy?
Yeah.
I think like, this episode is the end of that.
Is the end of that?
I think so.
Well, I think that.
I mean, that could go
this
into
episode
multiple seasons if we wanted to, but
we could. But what purpose would it serve? We need people to trust us.
Yeah, you're right. Because
what we could do is.
Well, season 3.
You know that we're going to have a scene where he tries to assail Melkor personally and fails.
Right.
Right. Well,
is have. Well, yeah, and what we could. This connection is terrible. What we could do be is have that be pointed out by Manwë.
Yeah.
You know that I know it's him, but there's beings in the world. We can't act as if the children are not here.
Yeah.
So we can do that towards the other thing though. He can say something to the effect of, have to oppose him regardless of what the other Valar say. Or we shall find a way to oppose him. And Unin says, and what a man, and he can say something to the effect of, well, not necessarily those words, but something along those lines.
I mean, I guess I would want the takeaway for this season, as far as Ulmo goes, to be he's kind of a maverick. Like he's chaotic. He's chaotic good.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah.
Especially, I really don't think we're gonna get enough time with the Valar to really complicate anybody's angle.
That's the thing, is after season 2 here, we're only going to come back to the Valar very occasionally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Their main role in season 3 will be the creation of the sun and the moon.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been discussed at all how we're going to handle that. If we're going to go back and show them do all of that, or if we're going to stay totally elf-centric and just see the rising of the sun and the moon. Guessing on how decisions have been made in the project to this point, I have to imagine we'll see the Valar for the making of the sun and the moon.
Well, we could use the Vanyar for that if we have to.
No, I meant like whether or not we go back to Valinor and show that at all.
Yeah,
I think we will.
We can do that from the Vanyar's perspective.
We probably wouldn't. We would probably use the Valar because we don't really have any characters. But
go back to see Ingwe. I haven't seen Ingwe in a while.
Yeah. Well, yes. My point being that there's like one episode in season 3 that has Valar in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's probably going to be the most we'll see them for a while.
And probably none in season 4. And almost shows up into our story. Well, okay, so not none in season 4. Almost going to have to deliver the message to Turgon to leave the armor in Nebras. So that's going to have to happen in season 4. So that'll be the extent of what the Valar do in season 4.
Well, from here on out, it's pretty much all Ulmo, right?
Yeah, so that's why, I mean, we can't leave it as an open question mark if he's a bad guy. We kind of have to establish him as the foe of Melkor.
Right.
Which he was already established as, but in case people had lingering questions, this would be the chance to have him reveal his big picture goals.
Yeah.
So then the focus should be like, okay, he's a good guy, but he's not gonna just wait around for everybody to get on board with what he wants to do. He's gonna do his own thing.
Yeah.
He's not a tame lion, essentially.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So go there in Act 1, do we feel like we need, can we go to, can we move number 21?
That's the refugees.
It's the encounter with the refugees. They find the dead eagle. They meet the refugees, which quite feels a little bit like 2 scenes, but I'm not entirely certain.
I mean, it is 2 separate things, but it's like they find the eagle and talk about it. So that's maybe a page at most, and then the refugees come up as the follow-up to that scene. You know.
Yeah, I don't think.
So it's 2 separate things.
Maybe move that one in.
To you want to move that up to like 19? You want that to be the end of Act 1?
Yeah.
I think that scene's too
What are you
short.
saying, Brad?
I think that scene's too short if you do it that way. Is all like a page,
right? But
for a scene is super short.
Right. I get that. What I'm saying, the Formano scene that sequence can be a little bit
closer to
long between. Right. The darkness comes to Formano.
Right.
Finway ushers everyone out the back door with final directions. Farewell, the nerd doors behind them. Goes to stand at the gate. Melkor comes through the gate and taunts him and kind of what? That's a little bit longer because there's actiony bits.
I don't know. I kind of like the way it's structured there.
Okay.
I don't know. I guess
well, what else would we put in Act 1 then?
Yeah, I don't know what else.
Can we move up Feanor's? Can we move up Feanor's thing from the beginning of Act 2 to the end of Act 1?
Well, that's the problem. Is that feels like it feels like the beginning of a new act.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, just because.
Well, I don't know. Maybe
because that's how we started the act, was with asking him a question, and now this is his chance to say something. He didn't even say anything. Like, this was a bunch of Valar saying, "Hey, Feanor, give us your Silmarils. Hey, Feanor, step up to the plate. Feanor, how could you say no to Yavanna?" And Feanor says nothing. So, like, we started the act with him not even speaking. Here, he's going to speak, but not give an answer. It kind of feels like a bookend.
Yeah, no, I agree, actually. I take back what I just said.
All right.
So I can change 20 into 19 and bump everything else up.
Right.
But that doesn't solve our problem. It just condenses our problem.
Yes.
That's still the right thing.
Well, we did get an additional scene. We did get an additional scene. So now instead of being down 1, 2, 3, 4 scene. So now we're in Act 2.
Yes.
We have, so now the first thing that happens in Act 2 is the finding of the eagle, the Formanos refugees.
Is that how we want to start the act out? Does that sound good, or does that sound like something we want to come back to after another?
I don't hate it. It's kind of a sour note to start Act 2 on, which I think is probably good.
Okay. Well, the beginning of Act 2 should kind of be a pinch point, right?
Right. Which, holy crap, Dead Eagle is kind of a good pinch point, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it reduces the protagonist's options, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. If that moves up to 20, moves up to 21. This is the Thieves' Quarrel prior.
Right, the part 1 of the Thieves' Quarrel. Yes.
I think that feeds well to. They realize how powerful she is, and then we see her being powerful.
Yeah, yeah, and see Melkor starting to be a little nervous about her.
Right.
Okay, so now we're basically missing the second half. We can't. It would be a little. The first part of number feels to me like it's part of Act 2, where Ase spots them approaching, and then he goes off to inform Ulmo, which is a separate.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's time passing in there, so if we want to split that up over different things, we can.
We're running into a little bit of a mess though, because we have number 20 is something that should happen in the middle of the Thieves' Quarrel.
24.
I mean, because we're having the loud cry of pain 2 scenes before it actually happens.
Right. Yeah, that's not bad though.
I'm not crazy about it.
It's not terrible. 2 scenes is fine.
It's a long stretch for us to have this have any idea has anything to do with Melkor at that point.
Okay, well it's not a problem because if we're gonna move Feanor's denial of the Silmarils up, then we can go directly from Our Master is Calling to Thieves' Quarrel Part 2.
Well, if we're moving the denial of the Silmarils be into Act 3, I think.
Yes, I think that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Spot for that to rest in. The problem is that scene in Angband themes. There. The confrontation between Sauron and between Thuringwethil and the Balrogs. That seems separate scenes.
Yeah, we can break some of the stuff up differently. I wrote it down based on how we talked about it, but we talked about it, not necessarily.
Yeah, right. No, I totally understand that.
Yeah, so we can rearrange it down. That's the whole point here.
Fit in, right. So if we move the first half of 27.
Mm-hmm.
It's now 22 because 22
I see.
is now free.
Okay. Let me grab that. So when you say the first part of the Numalan Angband, only up until the confrontation with Thuringwethil, or what point would we end that?
We would end that in the middle before she actually spills all the beans.
Okay, so just the Balrogs being unhappy about the secret keeping before Thuringwethil says anything.
Well, like they ask him, he doesn't give it up, and we can actually like Gothma can say something to the effect of, "Well, if you know, then we'll ask your pet," and one of them drags her in.
Yeah.
So they turn to Thuringwethil is going to be the end of that scene. Okay. All right, so that's now our 22.
Yes, that's now 20. Okay.
All right, so I'm updating this as we go and saving it so that I can see what we've changed. So if you refresh the page, you should be able to see the updates.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Because I know I can't keep track of this.
that feels like that. What's now 21. At the end of the first part of the it's just one shot where like we moved from their Melkorn and Volian to a shot of Ase seeing the darkness approaching that cutting off in the water.
Okay, right. So, gotcha. I will move that part up. So we don't know what Ase is doing right away. We just know that he's spotted them.
Right, right.
Which is appropriate here.
Okay. Why don't we take a break real quick? Call me anyway. If you're watching this live, keep watching. This is going to be all this bookkeeping is going to be super exciting. If you're watching this on YouTube in the future, definitely share them. If you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe. We'll be back in a minute. I'll be back. I will try to see if I can fix this. How choppy?
I don't know if it's all you either. I think maybe on my end as well.
I can't figure out how to adjust my volume, so I can't use my these speakers. I have to use my external speakers until I can find my volume adjustment, which is something that
No, that worried about the video itself. Like, I'm not entirely. I feel like I'm. Yes, is that a thing that's happening?
You're stuttering, yeah. But Marie's stuttering too,
right.
So I think it might be on my end. But
I'll see if I can. I'll be right back.
I'm just annoyed I can't adjust my laptop's volume anymore, which apparently is a thing that happened just now. So
that seems like a pain.
Yeah, and I don't know why I can't find the little. Usually it's right in the corner. There's a little volume adjustment, and now it's completely gone, and I can't find it.
You can go into like settings manually and try to do it that way.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it where in the control panel I'll be able to adjust it.
Oh, God.
There we go. That'll work. Oh, there's a Google Hangouts volume I can adjust separate from my speakers.
Oh, that's fancy.
That's convenient. I wonder if that'll work. Let's see.
There are not enough hours in the day, Marie.
Okay, I need you to say something so I know if it worked.
Words.
Okay, that worked. That's good. All right. So I can use this instead of my external, and that should fix that problem for the echo on my end. I realize it won't fix the overall problem with the stuttering, but
actually, now that I'm listening to you talk for extended periods, I think it is just me. So
yeah, his device that he's using has very he's used it before, and it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just old or what.
I've just been having some problems with my connection periodically.
Yeah.
It's pretty stable for the most part, but every once in a while it'll just get finicky.
Right.
Man, I gotta tell you, this getting old thing is not okay.
All right, what happened that counts as getting old for you?
I can't go do stuff and then wake up the next day feeling good. Everything's kind of sore. It's not like I did anything nuts. Just some salsa dancing, but my shoulders all
out of whack.
Yeah.
Such is life.
Yeah. Being 21 was pretty cool. I'd do that again.
I'm trying to think. What happened when I was 21?
No hangovers? That was the big one for me. No hangovers. I basically don't drink anymore.
I didn't drink then, so I don't know what things. Oh, hi, you're back.
Not really. So I have a very long piece of Ethernet cable when my brother-in-law was staying here because he had a very high internet usage. So, in order so that he didn't have to depend on the Wi-Fi, we got him some Ethernet cable all the way up the stairs and into the rest of the house. However, now he's not here. Ow. So I am taking it off of the wall, and I'm going to bring it downstairs with me.
I like this plan.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, that's where I'm thinking, and I'm just like, I hope your wife doesn't see you doing this, and I'm like, I hope nothing goes wrong.
She's not here. Ha ha.
Yeah, like I said, I hope nothing goes wrong.
All right. So that I just got to get this behind the television so that it's not in the way. I'll totally do this. This is totally going to work, and everything will be awesome because I have declared it so.
Everything is awesome.
I can hear you right now, so
Yeah,
your
it's
connection
actually
is
really
fine
good.
on your phone.
My dog is super confused. So well. I've actually thought about taking this cable and putting a hole through the floor in the closet that's right behind our router. Using that. But this will do for now.
Okay.
Not right now, I'm not doing that, but
it seems like a poor time to begin home improvement.
no. Home remodeling.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh no, none of that. Can't do that. Okay. I may lose connection for a second.
Yeah, I just pulled it out of my ears until you're fixed.
Yesterday was pretty fun though. My Japanese got a good workout. It's been a while.
So you know Japanese and Chinese?
Yeah. Except
Okay.
my Japanese sucks.
Well,
Because
most people I know who know Japanese, their Japanese sucks. So.
Well, my Japanese used to be real good.
Or that her Japanese sucks because it's gangster Jap.
Well, I mean, I did live close to the people that I lived around were able to speak Kansai Ben, but nobody really used it.
Okay.
They were familiar with it.
Decided that the problem is probably not my connection, but the processing power of the computer. Save and transmit the video.
That is a much harder.
That's work.
Stop.
Yes. Anyway, so we will forge ahead regardless. Okay.
Your phone works. I mean, if you need it, you use your phone.
So, yeah, my phone works, but unfortunately, I can't control. So, there's problems with that too.
Oh, okay. Whatever you decide.
We're doing okay.
Yeah. So let's get too late that I had set my timer instead of for 20 minutes, I had set it for 20 hours.
Oh my.
Strangely enough, it didn't go off.
And I was wondering, I kept looking at it wondering, like, why is the time not going by? And never looked at it closely enough to realize, oh, that's 19 hours. Anyway, so
yeah.
Why is it math again? In a 1, a 2, a 3, and all right, everybody, welcome back to the Film Script Discussion Season 2 review. We're going to kind of reorganize our episode 13 to our monstrosity, which now we really don't need.
Wait, what?
But it's what we have, so
We're not getting rid of it. We'll present it to them and see if we get away with it.
No. we never would have been able to fit all this in an hour now. So,
I don't think they're gonna go. Oh no, an extra episode. This is terrible.
I'm thinking we can get away with it, but we'll see. We shall see.
All right.
They don't. Do they know that it's a 2-hour yet? I forget if we told them that or not.
Yeah, I told them.
Did you tell them? Yeah. Okay. So it won't even be a surprise. They'll be fine.
It'd be way too much work to go back on this now.
No. It's much easier to add some scenes and finesse what we have than to cut everything out.
Then, right. Okay. Okay. So do
if we're going to move
more in episodes in Act 2, because if we cannibalize any more from there.
Yeah, here's the deal. We need to figure out when we want Feanor to deny the Silmarils to the Valar. So far we've had him say.
I feel 6 quite easily.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I feel like we can move 28 to 26 quite easily. However, that there's still an additional problem because number 27 should kind of happen in the middle of number 29.
Well, that's okay though. We're going to show the rundown of all that in Angband, and then switch back to the Hell Caroxate. So it's fine that those are out of order. That's not a problem.
Okay. No, I'm sorry.
I'm trying to decide if I would rather have the well, I guess it is still 27. 27 happen right before 29, or if it would be better with something in between. I kind of feel like maybe it would be better to just immediately jump directly to the explanation of the cry.
Well,
the other question is if we want Feanor to deny the Silmarils as the midway point of this hour, so back at 23 rather than 26.
No, I think it belongs, like, that's the low point of
or 24. You can make it 24. I feel like
it has to be sort of not the climax, but like this is the low point in all of history, right? Like this is where everything could have been different,
right?
So like starting Act 4 with it seems like the right thing to me.
Well, right now it's kind of stuck in the middle of Act 3.
Yeah, so I would shift it. Well, I'm looking at the old
right
organization.
I know.
Refresh the page.
Sorry.
Well,
I have to save it first. Okay, now refresh the page.
Right, but I'm saying I think that
maybe
the old version is the right one. I think it belongs at the beginning of Act 4.
I think it has to be earlier. I think we've artificially delayed the answer to that question to the final act, and the event happens so much earlier that it needs to be dealt with. The only reason we forced it into Act 4 is because we thought they were asking us to do that. They didn't.
Yeah, but again, like this is the moment, right? So
it is, but Feanor is going to have his moment with Finway's dead body in Act 4, and that'll be the low point for Feanor. This is his moral choice that leads to that low point, but so we can have it as the Act 2, Act 3 break.
Early the beginning.
I don't hate that.
Okay, so where are we?
The problem is if it's the Act 2, Act 3 break, we go a long time without seeing. I mean, that means it would be weird. I guess it could be the end of Act 2, because Act 3 is basically then the Ulmo and Melkor show.
Right.
Which is, I don't know, that's kind of weird too, though. Like, so there should be some Valinorian something going on there. Oh no, you got Feanor saying, well, yeah.
Well, that's the thing is right now I kind of just randomly stuck Feanor in the middle of all that.
Yeah.
I'll see.
Yeah.
That means we have to have at least one more scene.
Sandwich, right? Yeah.
Yeah, with Valinor, because otherwise it just doesn't make any. It's a little too weird.
Okay, so if we move Feanor denying the Silmarils to the end of Act 2, space 23.
To 23, okay.
Right. We will need something else at 26, which could be the Nerdinel arrives with the news of the attack on Forminos. Because that happens after Feanor denies the Silmarils, but it doesn't have to happen immediately.
Right.
So
I think
I can do it that way. I think
that's the ticket.
Okay.
Did she say anything to him? I thought that the whole point was that she doesn't actually say anything to him.
We can decide how.
After the denial of the Silmarils, Nerdinel shows up.
Should she show up as he's denying them the Silmarils?
Well, like just after.
Well, because I mean, I feel like she needs to see that happen with her own eyes. Like getting hearsay on that seems
okay. So we want to keep those two together. Those two events together. Nerdinel's arrival and Feanor's denial going in the same scene.
I mean, we can cut it like on her face as she's like, "No, you fucking excuse me." You jerk.
Edit.
How could this is obviously the wrong choice.
Except the whole point is that he makes the decision not knowing that Forminos has been attacked and he's lost the Silmarils anyway.
Yeah, but I mean,
so therefore he has to make the decision before Nerdinel shows up, because once Nerdinel shows up, it's very obvious what's happened. She's not supposed to be there.
Right.
So once he sees her face, he knows Finway's dead. Silmarils
we can see her face, but he doesn't have to notice that she's there yet, and then we can cut to another scene and then come back and then have the fallout, right? It could all be one scene. It totally could. But I don't know. It just feels wrong to me that she's not there for that.
But we can there after he's already said it.
Right, but I hate that. I feel like she has to hear him say that with his own words.
That's fine.
You know what I mean?
Like as soon as he says it, we can see her.
Yeah, that's what I'm
saying. Yeah, that's fine. I'm just saying that as long as we see her after he says it, we're fine.
Right.
Okay. So
attention in the choice.
Right.
Well, I mean, the fact is that we've already revealed that she's left. So her showing up during, before, after.
It tells the audience
that has the dramatic emphasis of the choice, because we've already. If people know to put together what it means. I mean, I feel like there's going to be people who aren't familiar with hope that Finway pulls off some kind of fantastic something.
Yeah. Okay. So what we need is she's going to be arriving in the same scene when he denies them, but now that's at the Act 2, Act 3 break.
Right.
And so we can do camera angles and such that he doesn't maybe see her before he says his part, but she hears him, and we can make that happen.
Yeah.
But then we would need an Act 3 scene of the elves. Of the elves at the trees deciding to go to Forminos to rescue Finway or something. I don't know what they're trying to do at this point.
Which is what we were going to do anyway.
But we need to put that in Act 3 as a separate scene.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the decision to go to Forminos has to happen now, separate from Feanor's decision to deny the Silmarils. Is that okay?
I like it.
All right. So that will be our new 26.
Yeah, the other thing about her arriving just a hair too late to stop him from ruining history is kind of
maybe have that instead of being 26, maybe make it down to 26 to separate Ase going to find Olmo and the
Okay, yeah, let me see what 24 and 25 look like. Yeah, okay, you're right. So that'll be 25, and Almo and Ase's Assault on the Hill Karakse will be 26.
Nice.
Okay. So now, all right. So now we need to do.
You look so stressed out.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be fun, Nick. Come on.
No, this is putting aside stressful things to deal with this. I feel like, but stopping, say, in the middle of 29, in the middle of the fight between Ungoliant and Mel, a conversation scene seems wrong, unless it's a conversation scene, because the Balrogs are basically information from Theron Withel. It looks like they're about to obliterate my. It looks like, you know what we need to do is there needs to be the two sides almost come to blows, and
What,
like Gothmog is.
They're all
like,
squaring off.
Right, Sauron's werewolves are there. His drow are there.
No drow.
All the
Don't say drow. We're gonna get sued.
I'm sorry. What they've created with that situation is drow. I'm sorry. In my head.
Yeah, I wasn't super wild about that choice. But
well, I get where they're going with it. It's okay.
Yeah.
They won't stay that way for very long.
So,
that makes you feel any better about the situation.
Yes.
We're going to turn them all into orcs a couple episodes into season 3.
Yeah.
Yes.
I still think it's dumb, but whatever.
What?
So the confrontation, and we get the yell right before, like, Gothmog's right in Myron kind of just smiles at him and says, "Our master is calling."
Right.
Kind of gives him kind of a "I'll deal with you later."
Right. And the Balrogs take off. Yeah. No, I'm fine with that scene.
Do that. We can break up the fight scene between Melkor and Ungoliant, and it's okay because we've maintained the tension level.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if that scene is super tense, it'll work. Like, they get past the Helcaraxa, Ungoliant forces Melkor. They're fighting.
Mm-hmm.
He's keeping his hand clenched. The fuses. He strikes the ground with a spear, calls out in pain. He shouldn't cry out. He shouldn't cry out. What happens is he strikes the ground with a spear. We see the chasm forming.
Mm-hmm.
The confrontation back at Angband. Then immediately after that, go back and see completely in Ungoliant's clutches.
I don't.
Balrogs and the Balrogs
really,
pop up to help him.
I really don't see the need to keep the storytelling completely chronologically in order.
Yeah.
I don't see the advantage of that.
I feel like I understand what you're. Well, the advantage of that is that people are able to keep straight what's happening.
I don't think they're gonna have.
In other kinds, in other kinds of situations, I'm okay playing loose, fast and loose with the timeline. In this kind of situation, where keeping straight with whom, I feel like it's a little bit more important.
Yeah, the touchstone of the scream, like that is the linchpin. Like it's very obvious by that moment in the scene between Ungoliant and Melkor, like what the timeline is.
Whenever you have a story
I'm telling you, people are going to think that happened before.
They're not, because whenever you have a storyline with people fighting in different places, you come and check in on the different groups at different times,
Right.
and sometimes it's very clear that one of the groups was fighting well before the events that have already happened somewhere else.
Right.
And there's cues that are given as to where you are in the timeline during this fighting in different places thing. Shows do it all the time.
Yeah.
Like, shows written for kids do this. Like, I think we'll be fine.
All right. Okay.
Now, I mean, if it really bothers you, you structure it.
It does bother me, but if you guys that it will be okay. I actually just realized that because I'm looking at this, I keep voting. I should carry around a camera with me. Oh, my face is saying. Nobody asked you for your opinion. Go away now.
I asked her for her his opinion, whatever.
All right, sorry.
Whatever it is.
It
I don't particularly care to be hopping back and forth between Angband and, like, I feel like that much cutting is gonna make that scene more confusing, not less. So.
What I equate it to is kind of like Tolkien does when he says, and this thing happened and this thing happened, as opposed to saying this thing happened, then this thing happened. A little bit later, this thing happened. That staccato feel to it, kind of what I'm going for there.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Well,
I can.
Tolkien himself disliked his asides that did that in The Hobbit. He specifically pointed out that he didn't like having added in the parts that were to a child audience of, but a few weeks later they were over here, or like those little asides to keep the reader updated. He was like, oh yeah, that was bad writing.
I mean, we're not dealing with writing exactly, but
completely different.
I feel like the pacing of those scenes. I don't want to cut away unnecessarily from what's going on with the climax, right? Like, I'd rather get the housekeeping stuff taken care of up front and then stay focused on the action.
I agree, because part of the issue with time and space is that the Balrogs showing up right when Melkor calls them looks funny, but it would look even funnier if we saw the beginning of the fight.
Right.
Then we went and visited the Balrogs.
Right.
Then Melkor called them and they showed up right away. Like, the pacing would just be all weird if we did it like that.
I'm not saying that. I'm definitely not saying that.
All right, then what are you saying?
Is that we see him, right? And
who's him? Who are we talking about?
Melkor.
Okay.
This cry a bit. Okay, right? We can have it going on for a good. Bear with me. Hold on. This is my last attempt.
I can barely hear anything you're saying, so I don't even know what you're talking about.
Okay, let me try again. All right. So we get the beginning of the Melkor Ungoliant fight.
Okay.
Okay. They're fighting. She's clearly winning. All right.
Okay.
He's able long enough to hit the ground with the spear we see the chasm, and then we cut to the Angband scene, the super tense. We hear the yell. The yell is still going when Sauron. Okay, it didn't stop. Like the earth shakes, and we hear it, and we cut back to Melkor Boliant still completing said cry. The scene goes on. All right, she's continuing to wrap him up. The scene goes on for a little bit longer.
And then the Balrogs.
We have no idea how long he's been yelling. Okay,
like
because
that's bad.
Except if we show it in real time.
Right, we know exactly how long he's been yelling.
No, we don't, because we can establishing shot with
but
the yelling still continuing.
Your establishing shot connects the timelines. So if you hear him yelling on screen, that's in real time now.
Right.
Which is fine. You can do that. But it means if he's going to yell for more than 30 seconds, we're going to have to hear more than 30 seconds of yelling, which is...
Yeah, and that's insane.
Yeah. I was thinking this was like a 10-second thing at most.
10 seconds of yelling is insane.
I know. That's why. Like, this is supposed to be a big deal. This yelling, it's a whole...
That's why I'm saying...
I feel like I feel like you're trying to solve the solution of a fly with a shotgun, because he's him stabbing the spear into the ground, and then you're rewinding time backwards, because then we're going to earlier than that before the spear goes in, and then there's the yell. Like you're screwing up the time of exactly what is happening on screen by trying to put it together so that it makes more sense. Like you're confusing things.
How am I doing? How is that screwing it up? The cry should happen.
Because you're rewinding time, and then there's the cry, but then we don't have the cry
as a
milestone anymore. Yeah, you are. He stabs the ground, and then we have to go
what
backwards,
he's trying to do is he's trying to have the entire Angband scene take place during the fight, so that the stack from the ground is the beginning of the Angband scene, and the cry is the end of the Angband scene. So however long the Angband scene goes on for is supposed to be happening at the exact same time that Melkor was fighting. Which
I'm trying to have the two things happening concurrently.
Right, which is forcing the timeline to be real time.
Yeah, like putting those two scenes together makes everything happen basically from our perspective in real time.
And
so
I am voting for not real
effective. Time. Right, it's way more effective if you separate.
I don't know that it's way more effective. I still feel it's less effective.
Otherwise, like I am totally bamboozled by what exactly the timeline is supposed to be by trying to slot it directly after him stabbing the ground. Like
I mean, if we're really sticking with the timeline, then everything with Feanor needs to happen long before we get to the Thieves' Quarrel. But that's another story entirely.
Yes,
right. So like I said, you're trying to make it more clear, and by doing the angle you're taking is making it way less clear to me exactly what's going on.
If you were seeing it, however, it's not something I'm willing to continue.
No, it's not terrible what you're saying. What you're saying is not terrible. It is
not the most effective.
Well, it's
for me anyway.
To me, the issue is you're going from a physical fight to a yelling fight that is about to turn physical, but then doesn't because the other fight interrupts it. And it's not that there's no tension there, but it's going to feel like there's less tension if we go right from Ungoliant killing Melkor on screen to the Balrogs getting in Sauron's face. Like, it's just not going to feel, it's going to make the second scene feel lesser by putting it second instead of having it as a lead-in scene where it would actually feel tense and end on a cliffhanger.
Tension instead of...
Okay, that's fair. I just going to be a little weird where we just saw Melkor and Ungoliant escape the next thing that we know is we hear the yell saying our master calls, and
then we explain it.
Telling you to be wondering what did Elmo manage to do?
No, I think it would be a wait. What just happened? And then we go back and show Ungoliant.
Right. I don't even necessarily think that them being confused about who's responsible for the yell is bad. Like, that's okay. If they can be confused about that.
I'm just saying there's going to be confusion there.
Of course, but the yell shows up on the screen the first time. You don't know what it is. And then the second time, you know what it is. That's the whole point of doing it this way.
Right. And if they think Olmo might
I'll
be
make a deal with you.
I don't think that's bad.
I will accept. I will say nothing about it if Professor Olsen, because the exact words I have said, you guys are on your own.
Sure.
I mean, I'll just tell him exactly what I just told you right now, so I'm not real worried about that fight when it comes.
Yeah. No. There's obviously more than one way of doing something.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, your way is not terrible. I just don't think it's the best.
Yeah.
I'm not personally invested in this. It's okay.
No. It's just your way has some visual advantages. It ties the scenes together visually by following the lava thing. So in that sense, there is a positive thing there. But by tying it into real time, it really diminishes the Angband scene by making it either feel rushed or not as climactic as it should be, or just the whole thing kind of, the Angband scene falls apart.
And it confuses the precision of the timing. Like, I really don't see, if we're following, I know you have that visual moment where we're following the crack in the ground back to Angband, but if the crack in like, I don't understand why that wouldn't just leave immediately when the crack gets there. You see what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't really make a ton of sense.
It's fine. So, all right. Either way, we still have a problem where our Act 4 is very light.
Yes.
Now, what I would say is that maybe now 28, and now we need to figure out what our 27 is. Could it be
chewing grass?
27 needs to lead directly to 29. I agree to that. That there needs to not be a scene between those two. The question is it all in Act 4, or is there something else in Act 4 between the end of the Thieves' Quarrel and the return to Formanus? Because we could move 29 to 28 just as easily as we move 27 up to 28.
7 seconds of Tom Bob.
So what would you?
Grass. It's a nice night tonight.
Why is tonight different from all other nights?
Yeah.
So
no, we can't use that line.
I'm poking fun at Tom Bombadil cameos because I think they're a little. I would be happier hiding. Yeah, I would be happier hiding Tom Bombadil like in the very, very far background of scenes rather than calling attention to him. Yeah, I think it's a little bit goofy. I think is the word, but whatever. Yeah, whatever is.
Whatever. Don't worry about it.
All right.
Far be it for me to crap on anybody's good time.
All right. We have gone on long after the timer went on.
Oh yeah.
So take I'll check in upstairs. If you are watching this live, hang on. We'll be doing this in the future. Definitely like and share the videos if you like and want to share them. If you haven't yet, feel free so that you can see every time one of these comes out, and it'll be awesome. Comment down below for the description for more information. Be right back.
Mm-hmm.
I have to take a nap today. I'm so bad at taking naps.
Well, yeah, because there's always something more interesting to be doing.
Well, and my brain doesn't ever shut off, so.
Yeah, I can see how that would happen.
Yeah. It's ridiculous when you have a 4-day weekend and you realize you don't have enough time to do everything that you want to do.
Yeah, I hear you there.
I think I just need to quit all my jobs.
That's good for the free time, not so good for the funds to be able to
Food.
do anything during that free time.
Food and, shelter, things of that
Yes,
nature.
the survival aspect goes down.
Yeah. Considerably. But I'll probably lose some weight, which I need to do.
Yeah, it's true. I would be skinnier if I had no money to buy food. But I'm not really interested in losing my housing.
Yeah. I need to clean my stinking apartment. That's what I need to do this weekend.
Yeah, I'm behind on some chores like that as well.
I have a pile of clothes that I brought back in August that is still sitting on the floor. I don't really have any place to put it, so it's not like.
Yeah.
But I should probably move it from the floor, so I can clean that patch of floor.
Yeah.
Although it's probably the cleanest patch of floor I have right now.
Because of being protected by the clothes.
Exactly.
It's funny how I knew how that worked.
Yeah, I feel like we may have some things in common in that area.
You'll notice I reveal nothing about my surroundings.
I'm pretty sure somebody would call FEMA if they saw what my apartment looks like right now. It was Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is what killed me.
Thanksgiving was a while ago.
I know, and I have not been able to get my anything in order since then.
Yeah. No, I have nowhere to point fingers right now. I need to do a lot of work around here. Hoping that some spring cleaning will happen here.
Yeah.
If not
Thanksgiving
tomorrow.
happened, and then Christmas happened, and then Chinese New Year happened, and then now it's the end of February.
And just like,
That's right. I have to build, so.
You what now?
I have to build an entire room behind.
Oh yeah, that seems like a lot of.
Sounds like work.
Yeah. I don't care for that.
It's gonna be awesome.
Work that you'll be glad when it's done. Yeah.
Yes. All right, let's get back into one. Let's see. And all right, welcome back to the Film Script Discussion Season 2 review. We'll be spending most of the time on episode 13 and figuring out how to make it work. So,
and we're almost there.
Yeah.
Let's take a look here.
We need one missing scene, which can either go before the Angband scene or after the thieves' quarrel, but not between them. And we have to figure out what it is.
What we could do is after the thieves' quarrel, and I mentioned this earlier, have a scene between Manwë and Olmo. Who they're going to be for the rest of the show.
Yeah. And Olmo could acknowledge that, well, there's a few issues there. I mean, like, I think it's good. Let me think this through. Olmo has just been defeated by Melkor in one-on-one combat, essentially. Granted, the combat was between spider shadows and waves. I mean, it wasn't really a one-on-one combat. But the point being, Olmo just failed to stop Melkor.
Yeah.
And if he's going to come back and report that to Manwë, hey, this is where Melkor is and this is what's going on, and Manwë's got to have some of the. And why did you think it was a good idea to handle that on your own? Other than like, well, I was out on the ocean and you guys don't do ocean stuff. Yeah, like they have to kind of talk about that. And Olmo kind of has to be like, I'm going to keep doing my own thing. I don't care about you guys because you keep making the wrong decisions. Like, Olmo kind of has to double down on the loner cowboy thing.
Well, certainly I think it'll be much easier to sell Olmo as a maverick if he has like a throwdown with, like, basically at the end of that scene we should understand, like, no, we're gonna be okay. Like they're not gonna come to blows over anything, but Olmo is still gonna do what Olmo's gonna do.
Yeah, something to establish that he's still in Manway's court, but not acting in lockstep with the other Valar.
Right.
Manway kind of knows this and tolerates it.
Right. So
I mean,
well, Manway's not trying to tell anybody how to sing, right? Like that's what it comes down to for me. Manway wants them to sing together, but he's not gonna tell you what your part is in the music, right? So like that's how I would frame that whole discussion. Is Manway is trying to, Manway, nothing has really changed with Manway, right? He's still hammering on the same point he was in season 1. And I think he should put it sort of in those terms of like, you can't do this by yourself, right? And Olmo, what I would have Olmo do is say, well, yeah, I probably can't overpower him by myself, but he's dumb as a sack of hammers, and I'm gonna think circles around him. And
could Manway even?
What?
I was
even
suggest that he find another way. Like almost says, I won't allow him to rule Middle Earth.
Yeah.
That's the effective. Well, then you're gonna have to find another way.
Yeah, that would be okay. The problem is, like, it's too easy for Manway. If we don't give him something like that, I don't love giving that to him necessarily, but if we don't give him something like that, Manway just ends up kind of looking like inert.
Which is the problem. Almost not going to change his point of view here. So,
right.
But Manway can tell him off a little bit for.
No, he should totally.
His failure.
Well, not and put the failure in context of the harmony, right?
Right. Failure to work together.
Right.
What did you think was going to happen if you did it on your own?
Right.
We are here. We will help you.
Right. Not in a lecturing sort of like, well, that was real stupid kind of way.
No.
Yeah,
that's not really Manway.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So if we give Manway something to say that kind of permission, almost.
Well,
yeah. So it kind of encourages him, like, yeah, you do you.
You should say you gotta sing your part the way you think it's best. It's your part. It's not my part. I'm not gonna tell you how to sing your part, but don't forget that. Well, I mean, you've just proved it, right? The only way to really win is for us to be on the same team. So, and almost like
the only way for us to defeat him is to get, which is true, because eventually they're all going to be on the side. It's not the time yet.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, that's a real good scene.
Okay, I've updated it, putting this scene after the discovery of Finway's body in Formenos. So this would be like a kind of like a final scene before we do the Two Crowns scene. Is that an appropriate place for this Manway Olmo conversation?
Actually,
Or would you prefer it be right after the Thieves' Quarrel, but before Formenos?
I kind of think it goes before the Thieves' Quarrel.
No, it can't be before the Thieves' Quarrel. No. This is definitely a wrapping it up thing.
You're right. Yeah, I would put it between the Thieves' Quarrel and the.
Well, the only case for doing it 9 is that it kind of ends it ends all the dialogue that we're gonna have in the season, and it's probably the last window into the inner workings of the Valar that we're gonna get.
Yeah, but it's the Feanor show, right? It's already the Feanor show.
I'm good with it being 29. I just wanted to kind of visit that.
Okay, so you would prefer that we have this conversation between Manway and Olmo before we go to Formonos and find Finway's dead body.
Because I mean, all of the cinematic like slow motion.
Mm-hmm. Should all go together.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, well, that is the slamming of the door on season 2, right? Like it's too epic not to end with. So.
Oh no! I was still going to have the 2 crowns thing after all this.
Okay.
No matter what.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, I think
the question is whether
the vault and all of that stuff is still pretty epic, and then the epilogue. Is that like a stinger at the end of after the credits, or?
I don't know if it's after the credits or not, but it is an epilogue.
It's a tag.
Yeah, so I would put it after the credits then. Personally, but that's just.
I don't like scenes after credits because they seem like they're supposed to be optional, and this feels like it should be part of the story.
Yeah.
Like after credit scenes are kind of like bonus material, and this is
that's a fundamental disagreement on my part because there's no movie that I do not watch every last minute of. So
yeah, it's just
I know it's going to happen. Like when I go to see Marvel movies, I do that. But
sure.
No, I do it with every single movie, regardless of whether there's anything. So that's just. But I know nobody does that except me, so that's a bad rule of thumb.
I don't mind that concept. It's just that seriously, of all the after credit scenes I can think of, the only one in any movie that I've ever seen that was actually like, oh, this actually ties up the film, was for Pirates of the Caribbean 3. The after credit scene was him coming back 10 years later, and she's standing there with a 10-year-old son that you didn't even know that they had a kid because.
And it was awesome.
Yeah, and there was the green flash of light, and like that. Yeah. So that after credit scene actually tied up the film and was perfect.
Right.
I can't think of another one that fits that well into the movie and is not just like a teaser, fun after thing that is irrelevant to the ending.
I think Shawarma. I think Shawarma was pretty good.
It was good.
It wasn't necessary, but it was.
But at the same time, if you didn't see it, it's not like you missed a part of the film.
It wasn't necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't necessary. You're right. But
and that's where I mean is that the ending of Pirates 3 actually changed the end of the story. Well, not change it, but it added a scene that completed the story.
It added the big thing.
It was a good. Yeah, it was a good stinger.
It was relevant.
They actually didn't sell it as well as they could have because they didn't really do a lot of the mythologizing.
Yeah,
like the fact that he gets to stay now that.
Right. They cut out the scenes that would have actually led up to it better.
Which is insane. Yeah. They really wrecked that movie, but whatever.
Yeah, that movie was not necessarily the best done film it could have been, but the point is. It had a nice end credit scene.
Playing that movie over and over and over and over again. That the kind of thing you're talking about, where intercutting action makes people
confused,
follow what's going on. And I remember having to explain that movie. I understood exactly what was.
Well, part of the issue with Pirates 3 was that everyone double crosses everybody, so you have to keep track of who's double crossing who, when, and why.
I liked that aspect of it, but
I did. I enjoyed that.
Yes, if you follow it, it's fine.
That made a lot of people not like it, but
the other issue is that it had about 4 or 5 plots running simultaneously, so keeping track of the storyline was tricky because it wasn't like it was one story you were following. There were all these other side stories going on that you need to keep up with.
It's a very ambitious script, and they did not execute well.
And part of the reason they went for it is because they had Pirates 2 to lead everything up that they needed for it, but they didn't really use Pirates 2 to do that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's like Marvel's Civil War is a very ambitious movie, and yet I tend to use, with one glaring exception, there is absolutely no way then it gets to Siberia moments after Captain America and Winter Soldier. When he clearly leaves hours after they did.
Yeah, sometimes in stories like that, trying to keep timelines good doesn't work out very well. Yeah. It's also true that like the entire plot of that movie would have failed if Bucky had just covered his ears and gone la 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 like at a key moment. Yeah. So when you have an entire plot that you can block by the guy just blocking his ears, like
Yeah.
I mean, that,
And I realize that the first
you
word in the
could say
code
that
probably means he's not allowed to do that.
you
And I
could
realize that the first
say
word in the code probably
that
means he's not allowed to do that.
he
But
just made a poor decision out of the thing and get to the guy, because if he doesn't break out of the thing and gets to the guy to take his hands off his ears to break out of the thing and say the words.
yeah. No, I mean, I'm not saying that the scene was terrible. I'm just saying that there's an aspect of that
It's a big loop.
method of mind control that it's like, really? Yeah. I'm not sure I buy this even in a comic book film.
Yeah.
The travel time thing is the only major problem I have with the film. I felt like the fight scene, the airport scene is, I think, the best superhero fight scene I've ever seen.
That's because
I have a couple problems with the film, but they're all side problems. Like, one, I have a problem with using child soldiers.
Yeah.
And I realize if anybody is going to make a stupid decision, it's going to be Tony Stark. So the fact that Tony Stark recruits Spider-Man as a 15-year-old kid is something Tony would do, but at the same time, highly illegal and unethical. And if the whole point of his thing is, I'm going to try and be an ethical guy who doesn't get into wars on my own, like, what the heck are you recruiting child soldiers for then, idiot?
Yeah.
So
well, I mean,
I had some conceptual.
Tony's ethics. I mean, the fact that he doesn't get it is kind of the point, right? And that aspect of his character is pretty true to the Tony Stark from Civil War in the comics. He was he was way worse in the comics.
Yeah. Tony Stark is a jerk and a douchebag and all. I'm not saying otherwise. I'm hardly.
And I love him so much.
I'm not using foul language. Don't look at me like that. I said you're a douchebag.
Don't look at me.
I'll drop all the F-bombs here. Thank you very much.
I actually just bought my wife the road, the first, like, because there's like 4 or 5 books that you can buy series, and I just bought my wife the first one, so hopefully she'll. I know a lot of people don't like the Civil War storyline. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
I thought it started strong.
You actually start to like.
Fell apart.
Towards the end, yes, I agree.
Well,
but things that maybe actually start to like Captain America. Before that, it's a little kind of like, and I didn't really get the character until then. So about film.
Yeah, no one's gonna let us play the Marvel films. I don't think we have to worry about that.
That doesn't mean we can't do it.
Or the Pirates films while we're at it.
Yeah.
So
go back and rewrite history.
We have I think episode 13 in a workable fashion. What do you guys think?
I'm sorry, I did forget the consensus. Did you want the Alma Manway conversation to happen immediately after the Balrogs rescue Melkor? Before we go back to Formanos? Or did you want it to be after Formanos but before the 2 crowns?
Before we go to Formanos. Because we got to cut to credit. Before Formanos, because we got to cut to credits from Formanos. So.
Well, no, we're going to the 2 crowns and then credits. I think I just established
credits and 2 crowns, but whatever.
Scenes that actually are relevant to your storytelling usually happen before the credit.
I'm flexible.
Also, this is a TV show, not a film, so I don't think you save scenes for after the credits on a TV show because the TV channel will cut. No, because as soon as the credits start rolling, they shrink your box and they start doing ads for the next thing that's going to be. So you don't want to do anything important.
You're right. I hate that. I've always hated that.
Right, but it's a relevant thing we should pay attention to in planning our.
Right.
Yeah, but the point is,
I mean, although we're clearly
2 crowns to end
directly to Netflix, so.
Haha! There you go.
But even then,
the only thing you do
Netflix to the upper corner.
The only thing you do after credits on a TV show is you advertise the next episode. If you're going to do that, especially in something that's a long serial like this, you would say, and next time on film. But at the end of a season, you wouldn't do that. You would just end the season. So I think we're fine with no after credit on this particular episode. But regardless, the point is, Alma and Men, we were going to talk earlier.
Credits. could do like a little bit of the credits and then cut to the tag.
You can work that out. I have no opinion on the credits at the end of this thing. So we're gonna. The point is, we're gonna have the last scene of the Valar be now at Azalahar with Ulmo and Manwë talk. Is it Azalahar, or are they like back on Tenequil now? Where do we want to have this final scene?
It could be on the shore, like Ulmo could be
getting back
up out of the water.
Okay, so near Aqualande?
No, I kind of like him coming back
like
to the Ring of Doom.
When the teenager pulls into the driveway with the engine off, and Dad's standing in the doorway.
No. Anyway. Manwë's not dead.
You're right. That's true.
That's a Luvatar.
No, he comes back to the Ring of Doom.
Okay,
like
so Ulmo returns to Manwë. Okay.
Yeah. And they're there looking at the trees basically.
Right.
And they have their little. Well, I mean, I don't think it should just be Manwë. Like, it doesn't have to be a private conversation. They can all kind of reaffirm. Yeah, because I mean, especially they're talking about teamwork. The team should be there, right? And everybody should be like, "No, dude, you're still on our team."
Did any of the Valar go with the elves to Forminos?
No. I don't think Fëanor would want them to go.
No, Fëanor's definitely not going to invite them. But do they invite themselves? I mean, these are the Valar, and this is Valinor. It's their place. They're allowed to walk around, and Fëanor can't stop them.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like he would pitch a huge fit, or like accuse them immediately.
Right, and we don't want that.
I don't want there to be. Yeah, I don't want there to be any talk.
Okay.
That opens another, and they might just give him his moment, at least.
Okay. So basically, the Valar know that Finwë's dead, so they know there's nothing to do at Forminos.
Well, when Mendo says his little thing, I think everybody kind of goes, "Oh,
right.
yeah, you should go by yourself."
Yeah. So I'm just saying, because we've had Orome and Eanwe come back from hunting, essentially,
right,
and the refugees. So for them not to be like, yes, and we're going to go right back out to Forminos to see what's going on, like
that would also be weird. Yeah.
So, I just want to make sure we had a reason for them not to go. But okay, they're not going to go.
Nerdinel demanded that they be escorted, right?
That's
how we solved that problem. Yeah, okay. She's like, no.
Well, also,
I forget if I wrote that in here.
They pointed out that after seeing the deal, that there's no way that the two of them, or even one of them,
well, I think also showing them be prudent and then have Ulmo immediately do the opposite seems smart.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take. If you're watching this live on YouTube, hang on for just a second. If you're watching this sometime at this, now that I can actually edit things, it's amazing. I can edit video.
Yay!
Definitely like and share the videos if you like and want to share them. If you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe. Check out the information, and we'll be back in a minute. I was going to say something else, but I forgot what it was. All right, let's get right back in.
Before we get back in, what are we doing now? Because we're finished. We're finished with episode 13, right?
Yeah, we're finished with episode.
Okay.
Time for a break. You said that there were a couple of things that you wanted to talk about outside.
Yes, but we can get back in before I talk about them. I just wanted to know if we were transitioning or if people have things to finish up.
Yeah, no.
I'm pretty satisfied with episode 13 now.
Okay.
We nailed it.
What we're doing for Mythmoot. So I'll let you kind of lead into an intro, and then I'll let you lead into bring up what your concerns are. And in a 1, a 2, a 3, and the Silm Film Script Discussion Season 2 review, we have reorganized episode 13 into a workable fashion, we think. If feel free to comment down below, and we will summarily dismiss your concerns. Speaking of said
As we have
earlier
been
that she
trained
had
to
some
do.
things. we learned. Marie said that she had some things that she wanted. Marie, what would you like us to talk about?
Okay, I just wanted to go over some stuff from earlier episodes or whatever. Because I know Brian redid episodes 1 and 2 and 3, I think. Right? Did
I
you do 3?
started 3. I still haven't finished it.
Okay. And the format you're using is really good because it actually kind of makes it a story instead of just me like throwing scenes at the paper, which is what it currently is. So I've really appreciated that format. I do want to point out that I don't think that the hosts looked at that, what you did for 1 and 2.
I'm not even a little surprised.
And I don't know that for sure because I don't know what they were looking at when they were talking about them, but there was at least one thing they commented on that was different from the rough draft to the version you did for episode 2, and that was that Corey also made a point of saying that Finway couldn't make gems yet. With Ole, he had to wait till later for that. So, and I'm pretty sure that you had it as a chain link necklace or something.
Yeah, I didn't.
Like a gold and silver necklace. Yeah. So you had come up with something that wasn't a jewel in that, and he didn't seem to have recognized or noticed that. So I don't think he was looking at it.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Which I just felt the need to point out that seems to be where we are with that. As for the things that
I'm willing to chalk that up to just insufficient time to go over it because it is much longer.
Yeah, and I had sent him the rough drafts first, and then I sent yours later as a follow-up, so it's possible he just didn't open the second file. I don't know.
Right.
So it might be my fault in how it was sent. I tried to say, please look at these, but
I'm sure that it was a time issue.
Yeah. So moving forward for season 3, looks like we're not going to start season 3 until May. So we have time before that gets started up, and we can discuss how we want to do it then. But I do like that format. I think it's better than what we currently have.
I just think it's an extension. I don't know if it's better.
Well, I think it helps convey
it's a natural
the idea.
Progression.
Yes, it helps convey the idea of what we're trying to get across. So if somebody else who wasn't part of the discussion tries to sit down and write a script, I think they could use that to do so.
Right.
Our rough drafts aren't quite to that point yet.
Yeah.
So that was what I wanted to bring up was the idea of script writing. And
yay.
If I was going to wait until the review of all the sessions was complete and that they're available in audio. And then I was going to make a thread in the forums where I would list, here's the approved script outline for this episode, and here's where the original session was, and here's where our discussion of it was. And anybody who wants to claim it, here's all the information in one post for you to find to work on.
Yep.
So I was going to do that, but I haven't yet because we're not quite there.
Right.
But it does bring up some issues of things that the execs asked us to change, like the line about, I know it was Karita's line, so it's unfortunate, but Sauron saying, why destroy what you can cultivate, as his explanation for Thorengwethel.
I think I may have been able to rescue that, actually.
Yeah, we can rescue it if we rewrite it, but the point was that we have to make sure we establish that Sauron is less evil than his compatriots at this point.
Yeah.
The Balrogs are all about destroying everything, and he's not. That's
right.
Yeah. So we can't give him too calculating of a reason that early in the season.
Right.
Right. And right there, he's kind of lying. He's not being entirely honest with her.
And that's the thing is, so he should not trust Thorengwethel entirely, because the whole point of having a bunch of bad guys together is they don't trust each other.
Right.
But the use of Thorengwethel's character is supposed to be to get at what Sauron's really thinking. So she should ferret out his secrets enough to reveal to the audience where he really is eventually. So we have to tweak that. So comments like that I want to incorporate into here's the approved script with some comments.
Right.
We probably also should make sure we're on the same page with changes that we're getting made in there, but we don't have to do that tonight. People don't want to. One is the episode 1 boats issue of whether we're evacuating to the island or from the island. In the original outline, it was evacuating to the island, and in the longer version, it became evacuating from the island.
I'm happy to defend that immediately if you don't mind.
Go for it. I figured we should talk about this and get it sorted out so that people aren't mad about it later.
Evacuated to the island is super dumb because you're hemming yourself in. Like they're not gonna make a last stand at the island. They don't have anything to stand with, right? They're not preparing for war, so they're not retreating to their mountain fastness. So all that would really do is make it more difficult for them to flee if they need to flee, which it obviously looks like they need to flee. So that's my angle on that.
I'll tell you why evacuating away from the island is super dumb. The island. 2.
I'm glad you guys don't rule my Elvish village.
2.
Did you have a 1? Because I didn't hear it.
Oh, I'm sorry. 1 is they're not on the island. 1. Number 2, they are fleeing from there, and they are fleeing. They see that there are beasts running out of. They don't know that there's a war going on. If anything, it's right now than it's ever been. There's just a direct threat of the entire forest burning down. Around wandering through a forest, carrying your stuff and your kids while it's on fire, moving across a body of water to an island in the center of the body of water, super smart.
Not when there's an army coming with the fire.
They don't know about
They don't know that.
All right.
Just to remind
that works better.
of the point that it was supposed to be an apocalyptic, the world is ending moment for the elves. They honestly thought this was the end for them. Right. So that's where they're going. It wasn't a wartime scenario so much as a meteor is aimed at Earth moment. I don't know, Deep Impact or something. I don't know. I'm just trying to correlate where they were thinking.
Actually, they have no reason to think that going any other place is any safer than where they.
I do see the point that evacuating to an island is kind of a last step. Like, where do you go from there? You don't. So you're evacuating to your final point. So I do see the issue logistically with it. But since we're trying to cultivate the world is ending and this is it for us, I think that's the note we're trying to go for. That they've evacuated to their last place and they have no other safeholds past this point.
Not to mention, if they're evacuating from the island, then
it's only the Vanyar.
Does Orome show up on the island for them to cross the water?
He's coming from the same direction as the fire was.
It's a really big lake, so there's multiple shores. I mean, you can do things with it, but the distance from the island to the shore is a very clear distance.
Right, and invisible.
The island, that they're going to think that the island is safer than being on coming.
Anyway, I just wanted to bring that point up because I think that was a change that people would notice as being significantly different. Most of the other items that changed in the longer versions of 1 and 2 are.
At this point, I'm tempted to have them have an argument about whether to go to the island or flee it.
We can't have any arguments between them.
It's supposed to be fairly peaceful, like we've been, despite the apocalyptic end of the world.
Well, I mean, yeah, give me a break. It's the apocalypse. Somebody's going to have a different idea about what's the right thing.
I know. It's just we've been told this multiple times that no arguments until the great debate.
Oh, for heaven's sake!
I'm just
right. I tried to maintain
I feel like
the
interpersonal. Are going to flee.
Yeah. Well, we did want to at some point bring up the
interpersonal tension. What's up?
We did want to bring up at some point that the elves were trying to come up with like a diaspora plan. So even after they fled to the island, they were going to say, well, hey, we could all go out into the world in different directions and maybe some of us will survive. We can't. Like they were eventually supposed to get to that point, and then Oreme shows up before anyone can do anything about it.
Right.
I
think probably some of Ari flee in panic during the whole.
Yeah, so I think if we want to show some people not agreeing that going to the island is smart,
they don't necessarily have
show
to
them
fight about it, but
flee into the woods and
I agree.
Be seen again.
I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, so I think we can have a variety of thoughts.
Running away sound.
Maybe not that.
Okay.
But yeah, the idea is, I don't think you're wrong to bring up the logistics. I just think that was a change that we maybe needed to consider.
That's fine. I mean, if we're gonna, I think we can lean into like the home aspect. We're like, well, I mean, if we're all gonna die anyway, we might as well die at home, right?
Yeah, that let's all be together at the end was I think the vibe we were trying to establish.
Yeah, that's fine. I can re-angle that and make it work just fine.
Okay. But all the other changes you made, I think, are workable as far as maintaining the story that we were talking about when we talked about it. Because I think you went back and listened to the discussions while you were writing it. It sounded like you did. Because certain things reappeared in there. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I know I did a little bit, but I didn't have enough time to sit and listen to everything. I remember that anyway, very distinctly.
I wanted to say that overall, I thought that was an improvement, and I was pleased. But I don't think the execs saw that, so I'm not sure what that means for this time around. Yeah. But for next time around, I think
we'll get
for pats on the head from the big three.
Yeah, well, if that was your goal, I'm sorry. You'll have to work hard this time.
No. My
ego's
too big to worry too much about what other people think about my awesome stuff. So.
I wasn't too worried about it. But yeah, as far as other things, if people had stuff they wanted to bring up from earlier episodes, we could review it, especially based on what was said about 1 through 8 so far. But I don't have anything I need to talk about right now, other than those items.
The big change, the bad guy / orc subplot.
Yeah.
Subtle changes to the dialogue in the Tevildo scene, added with Dragluin comes back from the confrontation with having Sauron be among his elvish subjects, won some of them over. I think that we're into that in season 3.
I gotta tell you, I'm kind of astonished at how much time we've spent with the elves that have been captured.
We spend a lot of time talking about them, but there's not going to be any screen time for them.
I don't know. It seems like they keep saying, well, we want to do it this way, and then I'm like, how are you going to have to show something about that on screen? Like,
I think at the end of the day, what we're going to see is that Sauron has done something to make them his captive elves. But then once Morgoth gets involved, whatever happens obviously goes way beyond what Sauron did, and now they're orcs. And we don't see anything that Morgoth does.
Yeah.
So it's just like a big empty box of captive elves went in, orcs came out, we don't know what happened in the box. And I think that's perfectly acceptable.
It's like Sylvester McMonkey, Big McBean star on machine.
I only heard some of those words and it didn't make sense.
Yeah. It was a lot of words.
Silton's Star-On machine.
Oh,
The sneeches. Anyways.
So just
okay.
Just to be clear, my original idea for how the elves got to where they were was basically that Melkor started doing stuff with them basically as soon as he found them.
Mm-hmm.
In part because he didn't. Well, I mean, it just, I don't know. The elves in particular seems really dumb to me that he's not angry with them until after he kills the trees. Like, I feel like he sees them, and from the very first moment, he just hates them, you know.
Yeah.
Jealous big brother. And so, like, all of this extraneous nonsense with the pets and blah blah blah, it feels like it's unnecessary because Melkor's already figured out that he has a good idea of what he wants done with them, because he started tinkering with them as soon as he found them, because they were fascinating to him on the one hand, but also he really hated them, so he wanted to really stick it to him from the get-go. And then everything after, like, that takes all of the question about, you know, how evil Sauron is and what, like, Sauron's just tinkering with toys. He's messing with their Fëa to learn what the deal is with the Fëa, and he doesn't have to worry about them.
Well, I mean,
in any other
you
capacity.
Get the impression,
right?
You get the impression that the procedure of creating orcs had already started when take Melkor captive. That Sauron was continuing it the entire time that Sauron presented Melkor with an army when he got back.
Right.
That's the Silmarillion, at least as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I agree.
To say that's the Silmarillion is a little bit.
Well, I mean, it's not explicit by any stretch, but that's
Sauron's involvement is entirely made up by us.
These are deductions that you make. These are deductions that I made.
But I'm pointing out that Sauron's role in anything is very hazy because he's not actually in the story yet.
Right.
Sauron wasn't invented until much later, so he actually didn't do anything during this time. But he probably should have. So
we gave him the orc project specifically because he had nothing to do. Right. That's what we ended up.
So that was our decision.
Well,
right.
Decision.
Right.
No, the Silmarillion, Sauron's charge when, like, during the time that Melkor was in chains.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
really?
It's established that Sauron was in command of Angband when Melkor got locked.
Right. So by extension, that means that he
it stands to reason that he.
Right.
So
it's implicit, not explicit. I suppose.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Is that these are made through reading the book. What is being created here is that Sauron is becoming too evil too fast over the thousands of years.
I don't know. That complaint also seems dumb to me, but I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with it on principle, but I get
that it's, but
especially since we just went through the long drawing out of Melkor's fall. Like, the notion that Sauron would still be kind of okay until Numenor seems bananas to me. I feel like that's way too long to stretch things out.
The question is what people mean by, you know, final moment of still being a good guy, final moment of could still repent if you wanted to. Like, what final moment are you talking about? And with Sauron, I think the final moments are dragged out a little bit more than Melkor, so that's why it's not an easy thing to pinpoint. But
I don't know.
Yes, Sauron is making choices long before Numenor that involve him taking over the world and ruling it. For instance, he made the One Ring prior to Numenor.
Right.
Like, that's kind of a big deal.
Right. So, I mean,
Yeah.
like, but for me, the point of no return is well, pretty much like by the time we get to Baron and Luthien, for me, Sauron is already way over the edge. Like
Using werewolves to eat prisoners and such.
Exactly. So
Like
that he wants to replace Melkor, like that for me is an interesting pivot that he
Yes.
wants to now set himself up in place of Melkor.
Mhm.
But if we're saying that no he could still totally be redeemed before, like no he can't. He's way over the edge already.
Well, something happens at the end of the first stage where he does actually go to Yanwei and turn himself in and repent.
Yeah.
So that's after the Bran and Luthien thing. That's after he tricked Gorlin with a
you're right.
ghost of his wife. So Sauron can do some really horrible things and go, "Oh, I didn't mean it." He's someone who can take it back.
Yeah. Well, it's not that he didn't mean it. It's not that he didn't mean it.
I know.
Says is that
I'll never do it again.
That he's sorry. He went down a slippery slope and didn't know how to come back from it, and he was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
This repentance is something completely different from saying, "Oh, I didn't mean it."
Right.
I know.
Him repent and think better of his repentance afterwards.
Yes.
What's making an event that causes that to happen.
Yeah, I think I like that better than hit. I would much rather have him hop back and forth across the line rather than say, "Oh, I didn't cross the line, so it's okay."
Yeah, no, I don't.
Yeah, no.
I don't think anyone's pretending he doesn't cross the line because
right.
How can you use werewolves to eat prisoners?
Right.
How can you do all the things that he's done?
Yeah, he's definitely crossed the line. Okay,
but to that, in that sense, then there really is no such thing as the point of no return, right? Because I mean, you can walk it. You can always walk it
end
back,
of the third age Sauron. Is there any way he could even say that much?
He's not interested. But he's not interested way before that, right? Like that to me is the point of no return. When you yourself decide, I'm not doing that again.
Right. Not interested in repenting means you're done.
It's not that he's transgressed past a certain point and he cannot be forgiven. It's that
agreed.
Doesn't want to be forgiven and is never going to want to be forgiven.
Is that what people are hung up on? That would make okay.
I think maybe that's we've been talking about it in very objective terms, and I think we've kind of gotten our heads, turned around about what exactly the point of no return means.
Yeah,
that's how I've been reading it.
I didn't even realize that people would think it meant like, have you done something too bad to be forgiven? Because obviously, if that's the criteria, like, oops. I thought it was a repentance thing of, I regret what I did, not a, I wasn't that bad.
Okay, so yeah, if that's how we're approaching it, then that's what we're.
However, I do see the point that season 2 Sauron should be able to say, "Hey, I haven't done anything that bad yet. I'm the good guy here."
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean,
season 2.
The hedging his bets, I guess. That seems like a Sauronian thing to do.
Yeah, and only being a bad guy
by association.
Well, I was about to say, if everyone around you is worse than you are, you can kind of see yourself as not that bad.
As the victim, yeah.
So if he's surrounded by Balrogs and tortured Droglin and Tevildo,
I did the best I could.
Sadistic cat, he can easily be looking at himself.
At the end of season 2, he could make excuses.
Yeah.
At the end of season 2.
But once Morgoth returns as Morgoth and he starts obeying those orders, I think we're past that point. Because he doesn't necessarily obey Gothmog.
Right.
And that's the deal, is that he's kind of trying to do his own thing. But once Morgoth comes back and Morgoth's in charge, Sauron doesn't get to do his own thing as much anymore.
I think we've done a good job of demonstrating, like, you know, I mean, Sauron has kind of been in a holding pattern, right? He hasn't really done a lot of stuff. Probably the worst thing that he's actually done is the werewolf thing.
Right.
I will say it makes him kind of look ignorant. The way he did, like, it makes him seem kind of less clever. What happens with the werewolves? Because he's like, oh, this is gonna be awesome, and then it's not awesome at all. And then, oh, this is way less awesome than I thought it was gonna be.
People who are willing to experiment on others when they don't know what the consequences will be, like that's a pretty big red flag as far as ethics goes. And I think that Sauron should have that red flag.
I agree. Because it just makes him look a little dumber.
He wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't experimenting on himself.
Right.
You know, this wasn't I'm going to try this out on me first. It's like, hey, you come here, let me try this thing. Oh, it didn't work. Whoops. It should have. That was supposed to work.
Yeah. And I'm on the fence about whether Drugluin should be like, are you sure this is going to work? Or if he's like, let's do it. I'm not sure how gung-ho to make him.
Right. How to play that scene out will kind of determine both their characters.
Maybe realize it's gone horribly wrong right in the middle of it. Oh, this was a terrible idea. No. Too late.
Shut it down.
Something like that.
No, I think the realization is going to come afterwards. It's not a mechanical process. You're not going to be able to.
Yeah, you're right. We're not going to.
But regardless,
be active throughout it.
How that plays out will determine how sympathetic those characters are, how dumb they look. Like, there's some nuance in that scene as to what we take away from it.
Is there anything? I don't remember there being any other big changes. That
are we gonna go back to season 1 and kind of redo all of those too?
I would rather focus on season 2, but people can do whatever they want with season 1.
Yeah.
Because I remember reading through. Well, basically, when I started rewriting season 2 stuff, I wanted to look at how we did it in season 1.
Yeah.
And the organization is apparently by location, and it makes absolutely no sense. It was really hard to follow.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I would like to go back and
do
those two.
So is there any we could think of that needed to be made that we needed to talk about? Because they want to make more minor, and we can just go off of what they said, but
not in terms of the season.
Okay.
I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about how a proposal for how we could try to do things for season 3.
Right. I'm okay with that.
All right.
I think we should actually just make up a schedule of deadlines. And just like, if we don't adhere to it, that's fine. But just having, for me in particular, I know having a
I see what
hanging
you're saying.
over my head saying,
yeah. What I tried to do this season for season 2 was that after we did our sessions, I would try to make sure that the outline was up prior to the next session.
Yeah.
So that was my deadline. Was the next session was the deadline to get a rough outline up. I realize that doesn't necessarily give people time to comment on it or change things to improve it.
So we've got 2 weeks in between. Generally speaking,
here's what we can do. Here's what we can do. Okay. Through discussion, I can commit to doing the very best I can to getting all that we produce.
Get the videos up
during the week, right? Also leave the original, the raw discussion, the raw video as
open, available.
This way you can still get to it if you have the link. It's not
right. If the raw
world to see.
If the raw video is available, then I can do the outlines while you're working on the videos. So this could be a concurrent thing. Yeah. I don't need to wait for you to finish the videos to do the outline if the raw video is available.
Right.
So I would say within 2 weeks of this session, we should probably have the videos up and the rough outline up.
Right.
The question is what to do after that.
suggestion with that is maybe what we need to do is kind of, we're accepting comments. I'm going to say that maybe we can say we're accepting comments on the outline up to from the point at which it's posted.
I mean, at this point, I'm no longer
so that we can submit that.
I'm no longer really worried about having other people contribute because other people aren't really.
I feel like we kind of owe it to the project.
I would much rather have a tighter schedule and then leave the material open for people to access it so that they can get to it. Like I'm not suggesting that we just forge ahead and ignore everybody else. What I am suggesting is assuming that nobody else is going to pitch it. So the stuff should remain open for people to edit and make adjustments to it. Like basically the original idea was, that it would be available on Google Docs. Whoever took the first stab at it would kind of make the frame or the skeleton, and then additional people could make comments suggesting adjustments to whatever somebody had done.
So rather than having a rough outline in the thread on the forum, do you think it would be advantageous to make a rough outline on Google Docs?
Yeah.
Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah. Well, that's what I had. I remember doing it the first time around, and somehow, like, I don't remember it were, but I think we kind of fell away from that. Mostly because I wasn't doing it.
Yeah, the part I think was the issue is trying to figure out who was in charge of each episode the first time around.
Right.
So like no one wanted to jump in and edit somebody else's work if it wasn't their turn to do that. So it was a little like no one wanted to step on anyone's toes, and so it didn't get done.
But there's not enough toes to be stepped on at this point. So
well, at this point we know each other a little better. That was
that too.
That was season 1, episode 1. Right. We didn't I'd never met Nick.
Yeah. Well, plus I imagine you can make your whoever does what I would recommend is that whoever does the whatever episode keep a hard copy that they can refer back to after the fact, and so that they don't have, if they're really concerned about this is not what I wrote, they have what they wrote. It's not gone which is lost to the ether.
I did that also.
That's the advantage of posting it on the thread, is that you control your own post, so you can edit your post. And if anybody wants to, they can easily reply to it and have it all there to mess with. But you've got your own post.
I think and this allowed us to do what we just did everything,
but so that's not
it does. But then you have to go back into what I did was I just saved it. I just saved so that which I kept private, so that if somebody did something crazy, I could go back.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't hate the Google Docs idea, but I feel like people don't go into it because I checked. I kind of got discouraged from doing it was because I checked and saw that nobody was even going.
But I mean,
Brian and I did
even looking at
it a little bit.
So
no, Brian and I did go in the first season of the Google Docs, but again, it was
I did a couple of those.
I didn't know if I was allowed to edit them, so I didn't.
Yeah, no, they were free, and all I said was just write it in different colors.
I know, but then it was an issue of formatting and all that. Anyway, the point being, that's in the past. If we want to go back to Google Docs, someone else can do that. I have zero interest in Google Docs. I don't know how they work, so I don't make them.
They're pretty. Like learning Google Docs is, especially for a project like this, is pretty worthwhile because there's a lot of really cool.
Like I said, if somebody else wants to make a Google Doc, they can. I'm probably not going to do that. So
I recommend you learn it for your own good.
I'm just telling you that I'm not doing that.
All right.
I don't know how many times I can repeat myself.
Having them at the glance without having to go to yet another link is actually at least having the quickly at a glance reorganize scenes and stuff like that. Having a more detailed version makes perfect sense. Yeah. I do like that idea.
I don't think you should stop putting the stuff on the forum because it is the one-stop shop for everything. So I don't think you should stop doing that by any stretch. Like I mean, you know, you've got an Alt key and a C key, presumably, on your computer. So
I do.
Yeah. So that makes things really easy. So let's keep doing what we're doing as far as putting all of the stuff on the. But I think it should, just for the sake of convenience of
no, Google Docs are good. I just am not going to be the one generating them.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Someone wants to take things and put them in a Google Doc. That's fine. I'm just not volunteering to do that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right.
I can do that.
Timeline. If we're going to try to make some kind of deadline format, what do you think the timeline? Get into a Google Doc format should be, and should we kind of alternate that?
I think we should give ourselves 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm saying.
We have a session, 2 weeks to get the videos up and to get a rough outline up. Or if anyone takes notes, I know Rochelle was involved earlier, and she did notes for one of them.
She did.
That was really
times, yeah.
She's
super.
Been a bit busy. Oh, it was awesome, but she's been busy and unavailable right now. So But
more important.
Should she have free time and join us again and wants to do the notes and those go up there? So like all of that stuff should be up.
Take notes live, yes.
Yeah. If all that stuff can get up in the first 2 weeks before the next session, then that's like a starting point, and then give ourselves till the next session, to get a polished Google Doc ready.
Outline, Yeah. Yes.
So
I agree.
The Google Doc would be like 2 episodes behind where we are. So whenever we have a session, like the new Google Doc would be due from the 1-2 episodes before.
I mean, I guess I guess the only...
No, it would be based on what we said.
The only real problem
we're doing one every
is that
we're doing one every 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
The only real problem with that is that means we're basically cranking out an episode per month, like a completed full. I guess that's not the end of the world, though.
Means is that we're still doing one every 2 weeks. We're just a month behind.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
a ramp up period at the end of the season in order to make sure that we're done before.
Right.
I mean, I feel like we have at least. I feel like we probably have a month when they finish the last session that's on an episode. So talking about the scripts, and I think they've realized that you can't like discussing the script outlines like we did in the season 1. Season 1, we didn't even really get through all of it.
Nope. And
we got up to episode 9, and then that was it. So
we promised to go back
a bit more,
and then life happened. So
so at this time they've committed to actually go through everything that we did, which is nice of them, even though we're taking 3 sessions to do it and bumping their whole schedule back a month.
It is very kind of them to do that.
Yeah, but I mean,
in all fairness, we've done a lot of work.
It would be less kind of them to not acknowledge the work that people put into stuff on the forums, and if people are going to generate artwork and music and script outlines, it would be nice of them to look at them. So no, I think it's good, but they have committed to 3 sessions to go through this stuff now. I did send them episodes 1 through 7 months ago, so they had the opportunity to do a review earlier if they had wanted to, but they did not choose to do that. They did have episodes 1 through 4 early on, which they reviewed, I think.
Yes.
So if we came up with a schedule with them, if we batched things into like 4 or 5 episodes at a time and handed it to them and said, "Here you go, review it now before we get to the end of the season."
Right. Basically, I'm interested in plugging. Well, I mean, I'm not in charge of artwork or costumes or any of that nonsense, so I'm not going to worry about it. But I'm interested in particular in plugging what we're doing a little bit more directly into the actual show.
Yeah.
And
I think we can make that happen in season.
yeah, I think so too. Well, I mean, I have tempered expectations based on the very little that I know about Coriolson's life. So, like, I don't know how much we'll get, but I feel like if we're gonna get anything, we kind of have to step our organizational game up a little bit. Because, right, I mean, I'm not suggesting
if we can tell them in advance, have a packet for you,
right?
A detailed like the version you did of 1 and 2,
right?
A detailed outline of multiple episodes. Here, review it, and we're going to give it to you on this date. Like if we provide that for them, I'm pretty sure they'll be like, yeah, sure, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
You know, if we just say, hey, we're doing stuff over here and never give them anything, they're not gonna. Attention to it.
Yeah.
And you know, basically without a framework, I personally am not gonna do well.
Right.
I'm not gonna commit to never missing any deadlines, but at least
but if there are deadlines, you at least know about them.
Yeah, it's way
my
easier
boss
for
tells
me
me
to
something and doesn't tell me when he needs it.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to know when to give it to him? And I might put it at the bottom of the stack and do everything else first. And then he says, hey, where's that thing? Oh, you wanted that? Whoops.
Yeah. So
that's kind of what my job is, to have complete control over what I do and when, and it's a little terrifying.
Yeah.
I'm really bad.
Because you really have to be a grown up and just do your work.
I'm not interested in any of that. What I would like to do is also figure out, like, does anybody use any kind of calendar online web software thing? Because I would like to have a
I keep trying to use my Google Calendar. I don't stay up on it very well.
Of course there's a Google Calendar. Why wouldn't there be a Google Calendar? I should have known that.
I mean, Outlook has calendars as well. So like my work email has a calendar, which I use for work things.
Is there like a central calendar that we can link people to, or actually post in the script schedule?
Create something like that. Well, yes.
Yeah, we can certainly do better than what I did this
what I have
time
to
with
do.
the schedule. That's for sure.
Was there a schedule?
Right. Well, what? Yeah, there was a forum post on it. We've been talking about it on it all day.
I want like a visual calendar that I can click and go, oh, here's all the deadlines.
I agree. That would be great.
Yeah. Okay. So let's brainstorm.
Okay. So what I can do as far as for the schedule them all out in advance so that they will come and if they'll come up on my channel first thing, and two, if
that would be good.
Google Circles, you get a notification and it's on your Google Calendar as well.
Yeah, that'd be good.
What I could do,
what we would want to schedule would be the actual session when we're going to talk about things.
Yep.
As well as the deadline for getting a script together. Script outline.
And each milestone, so like when is the rough summary due? When is the refined summary due? And when? Well, I mean, if we can get it from the execs, when we're going to talk about whatever chunks of summary that have been finished.
I'm comfortable just telling the execs when they're going to talk about stuff.
I mean, you can try.
I'm glad you're comfortable doing that.
I mean, I'm comfortable telling them, but I don't expect to see, results from it
per se. I'll see if I can make it happen.
All right, cool.
Do is set up a separate Google account and give us all the login information, and then we can put whatever we want on that Google.
And that would be for the Google Docs as well? That would be the calendar and the Google Docs together?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea, too.
Okay. Because if it's organized like that.
This way, we're not using our own private account.
Right.
Because that's what I hate about Google Docs is that like, if I try to log on to something in Google Docs when I'm at work, it's my work stuff, and I can't do that.
Right. Yeah.
And when I'm at home, it always asks you for passwords. You don't really need passwords. It's just.
Right.
I usually want to strangle someone.
So if I set up a separate account.
That's a good idea.
If I set up then we'll have all that. Okay, cool.
Right. So if somebody else sets up the account and sets up the calendar and sets up the Google Docs, I'll use them.
I can do that. I can do that part.
Who could ask for more than that? Who could possibly ask for any more than that?
Okay.
I'm maybe not so great with certain computer things.
That's fine. You don't have. Yeah, you're fine.
When you ask me about calendars, I'm like, oh, I have this paper calendar that I don't
use calendars either. I'd never use calendars either. But when it comes to this type of stuff, like it'll help things be more inclusive if we have a clickable thing that people can very easily.
People can just join when they're available.
Right. Well,
and they don't have to be part of a secret club to get into it.
Right.
Here's the only problem: if we do that, then whoever makes a Google Doc to their computer as well, so that if somebody is,
of course.
So
we already decided that we should be doing that.
Yes, but what I'm saying is it's got to be given as another Google Doc, because if I put up the login information on the forum so that people.
Well, don't put the login information on the forums, like.
Well, that's
well, the problem with that is that there are bots that troll
in
for
that
stuff.
I would.
That's true.
You can private messages only. Messages.
Send it through
a better idea. I will search the internet for putting up a calendar and use that. Or can I just put up a calendar on that for
I don't know.
Lord of the Rings? We should be able to do that. We should totally be able to do that for exploring Lord of the Rings. Hang on. Hold up. Give me 1 second. Ladies and gentlemen, figure this out. We have the technology. If I
allegedly
an option to make a poll, I know that. No, you can't do that. How on earth did they do it?
Well,
it's there.
Okay, let's look into it and see if we can find something that works and does what you want it to do. I have to imagine.
I'll find something.
I have to imagine there's options that we haven't considered. But the point is,
be a free option.
If we can find a clickable free calendar where we can put links to the Google Hangouts and the YouTube stuff on, and to whatever Google Docs we make for the script outlines, if that's all in one place and you can just click through the calendar to get to it, that would be a good thing.
Honestly, like, just to talk in general about the project, I think one of the biggest problems we have when it comes to participation is how kind of arcane and scattered everything is.
No one knows how to find anything.
Yeah, it's like I just realized that I'm way out of the loop on certain conversations. So it's not.
We're gonna need to create a wiki. Is what we're gonna need to do.
But I mean, I don't know. Like basically the execs have their portion of the project very very well set up, but I mean, there hasn't been any real organization of the project when it comes to the contributors, which is
kind of on us. I mean, we can organize as much as we want.
There's an argument to be made either way on that one, but I mean, for the execs purposes, like
completely on our own.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no reason why people who are to do the same thing, or people who are interested in music couldn't do the same thing. I could do that for music, necessary knowledge base to do it. I was able to building issue. I'm able to talk about armor and weapons. Geography. Well,
everyone has their niche.
You can do all that.
Right.
And
even down to
most people have never done anything like this before and don't know how to get started. So
and
it comes down to a question of gumption.
I know nothing about the casting, but I think I accidentally took it over. So
that's what you get for being active. Good job.
And that was just I was making lists of because my goal originally at the beginning of season 2 was, hey, we're going to have some characters that get invented over the course of the season, or characters that we decide not to use. So let's keep the casting form updated as to what characters are actually in season 2. So as we had our discussions and decided that Nerwin would be a girl at Cuivienen who would become an Avari, like, oh, okay, let's put her in there because, we kind of made her up. So obviously no one knew to cast her until we told them to.
Right.
So I had to give her a name and a description so they knew what we were looking for.
See, you just should have been drunk and irresponsible like me. That would have been way easier.
I'm plenty irresponsible in my real life. I saved my organization for the Film Club project.
Yeah, there you go.
Which doesn't say anything good about my abilities to be an adult.
Hey, that all depends on where we decide to take this thing in the final analysis. Like if at the end of 10 years we're basically still where we are now with this, then sure, you could make that. But even the very wise cannot see all it, as I think Baba OJ once said.
So I don't think that the host got the joke that I made at the tail end of the last. Said that Marie is very excited. I know that voting for casting is open. Either heads.
Yeah, I'm thinking I don't care. To be honest, I haven't voted yet.
I'm not gonna vote. I didn't vote last year.
Please do.
I'm not voting. I don't care. I really. Unless I'm going to see that person actually acting the stuff on the screen, I really don't care who you guys choose.
Oh, I know you don't care, but the idea is, like, let's say 20 people vote, and they make other decisions based on that, versus 50 people voting. If we get more votes, it kind of, like, gives more of a consensus around certain choices.
But you guys...
So I encourage people who know nothing about the project to vote, just so you know.
Fantastic.
I'm totally serious. Like, I posted this on Tumblr.
People who are terrible, and I don't want. So
vote against them.
Ones it was more against this person than for that person. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I was excited about though. Like in season 1, I was excited about the Rock. The only thing I actually cared about. Everything else, I was just like, yeah.
If you guys decide to cast Paul Giamatti as something, I'll vote for him. But everything else is just kind of like you guys are smarter than me.
I mean, obviously this is Fëanor and Fingolfin being cast, so
Paul Giamatti for Fingolfin, got it.
No, he wasn't nominated. I don't know who this Paul guy is.
You don't know Paul Giamatti? Oh
what?
My God. It's like
who is he?
Like he's right up there with he's one of the best character actors of our day.
How old is he?
I agree.
He's way too old to be Fingolfin. Way too old.
Okay.
That's
the thing is, for elves, we were kind of trying to cut people off around 50 to 60 as the oldest to be an elf.
Oh, he's not elfish at all. He's much more of a hobbit than anything.
Oh, okay.
He would make a much better.
Well, I mean, Tom Bombadil is being cast.
This who would be great. He'd be a great Greenwood Wormtongue.
Oh, okay. Paul. Well, he could do it.
Yes,
he could do it.
He'd be fantastic. Or Radagast. Radagast is another character.
He's got too much Jersey in him is the problem. Like he is from Jersey. Like I don't think he's actually from Jersey, but when you look at him, you're like, oh yeah, that guy's totally from Jersey.
So disguising his voice isn't easy.
I mean, he's done
done a lot of different voices.
He was a queen.
So there's some people you have to cast as Americans because they only do American voices.
He was the queen's. He was something from Scotland Yard in that magic movie that came out around the same. Edward Norton was a magician.
Oh, that. Yes, yeah. Edward Norton was a magician. Yeah. I remember that film.
Yeah, he was the detective that figured everything out.
Oh, yeah. Okay. He was an interesting character.
Two of the actors that have been suggested to play Finway. He's always good. The two of the actors who have been suggested to play Finway are super. No, not even a little bit.
Well, you could rewind.
I nominated one of the actors for Finway.
Yeah, it wasn't one that you nominated.
The one I nominated is awesome and needs to get the role.
All right, I'll help you with it. I'll vote for you.
Okay.
Who did you nominate for Finway?
His name is Enzo Cilenti, I think. He's
I've heard of this guy.
I do like him.
He's from Yorkshire. So so despite the Italian name, he's an Italian guy from Yorkshire. so he has a English voice.
Southern California. So.
Oh, whatever.
Well, he was in very recently.
He was Childermas in Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. So Corey Olsen actually knows who this guy is, which is Corey Olsen never knows who the actors are, and he was in Game of Thrones. He's the slave driver who buys Tyrion and the.
I should probably watch that at some point.
I've only watched some of the first season, so I haven't seen this part of the show. But he's the slave driver who buys Tyrion and Daenerys' knight. I forget all their names.
Actually, come to think of it,
if the guy would ever finish writing the books, that would be nice.
Yeah, what's gonna happen at this point? I really don't.
I think Winds of Winter will come out eventually. I don't think he's gonna write anything past that.
Maybe.
No, I think he's been promising it for a while. I think he has a good chunk of it written.
He's too rich at this point.
Yeah, his motivation is definitely down. Like, why bother?
Definitely seen the epic rap battles of history with it.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic.
George R. R. Martin and J.R.R. Tolkien.
Yes,
really good.
It's
all of those are really.
There's also Galadriel.
The only thing I disagree with the line where Martin says, "All your bad guys die. You're gonna happen by page and age 5," and Tolkien doesn't respond to that, which I'm just like.
Well, I mean, everybody says that. That's like, common folk wisdom about Tolkien, which is completely wrong.
Actually, I think for Finway, it's Sable. Actually, I'm looking at it.
What's the matter?
He played on.
Oh.
Anyway, so is there anything else that we want to talk about for this before we get into what we're doing for Myth Moot, which I think we should do off air?
Yeah, agreed on that.
Secrets.
I think that for season 3, we'll be starting in May-ish, and they'll likely have some like intro sessions before they get into episode 1. So we probably don't need to do like roundtable stuff like this until then.
Yeah.
But if people are bored between now and May and want something to do, we can try some actual script writing.
Yeah, plenty of writing that needs to be done.
Yeah, so I mean, I will put it out on the board for people who want to like claim an episode and start writing it. But if you guys want to think about which episode you'd want to work on, like even it doesn't have to be the whole episode, but if anything you want to put work into.
I am not gonna commit to any script writing until after all of the outlines are written.
Fair. I mean,
and then we'll see.
You're just trying to weasel your way out of the court case.
No, I mean, I don't know. Like, I know the next like 3 to 5 months are gonna be kind of. Hopefully, they will end with me having more free time as opposed to less. But
for now, you're a little on the book side and aren't going to take on it.
Well, I just don't know what's going to happen. Like literally yesterday, the way things I thought were going to go, just got a wrench thrown in it. So I have to talk to somebody on Tuesday about what my employment future is going to look like.
Gotcha.
So should be an interesting couple of months.
Figuring out real life employment is an important thing, and
if I just keep the job that I have now, that's okay. But the job that I have now is kind of what I wanted to move away from because it's basically my workday is like roughly 10 to 11 hours long. Not that I'm working all that time, but it's just like commuting and it's just a bunch of crap that I have to do. So I was hoping to cut that down and actually make a little more money in the process.
Right.
But I don't know what's going on with that now. So
okay.
So once I have a clear understanding, once I have a clear understanding of how much time I'm gonna actually have, I can.
If you're willing to move to mainland China, maybe we
I'd rather.
Maybe I could expatriate as well, and we could talk with my wife about setting up
literally rather die.
It's not that bad, is it?
No,
it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not raising my kids there.
Yeah, I would.
Well,
I would
fair.
not.
Fair. Yeah.
At this point, I really need to get a move on because my parents are. Anyway, they want their half Chinese grandbabies after all.
Yeah, they do.
So, all right. So
well, that's something you probably need to discuss with your wife at some point.
All the time. We discuss it regularly. There are criteria that must be met.
Well, yes.
So
one would hope. One would hope you have a set of criteria.
But
anyway,
I will let you plan your family on your own time. I don't want to get involved in that conversation at all.
Yeah, anyway. So, on that lovely note, if you're watching this live, thanks for watching. It's been not saying anything in the comments at all. It's still 10.
It's 11
in the
o'clock.
future.
This is the shortest episode ever.
Yes, it is. If you're watching this on YouTube in the videos, if you like and want to share them, and if you don't, why are you here? Also, if you are here, and check out the links below for all kinds of good stuff before. But registration for Myth Move 4 coming up June 1st through the 4th. It's going to be awesome. Bye.